Welcome to HortTube. My name is Jim Putnam. In this video, I'm going to be talking about Camellia sasanqua varieties from the Southern Living Plant Collection. I have several of these in my yard. If you have followed my channel, I'm going to go through and talk about where I place them and kind of the care of them. And then I'm going to throw it over to a friend of mine in Oklahoma City named Linda Vater, who has one of the most beautiful private residential landscapes I've ever seen. If you go over to her Instagram and follow her there and take a look at it. Back when I was landscaping, I have a very similar, the look she has is the look that I would definitely go for, and it's what I'm going to go for in this yard. I am nowhere near in her category with ability to design, but you'll get to see that in a minute, and she'll talk about how we can use these in the landscape, how we can use these Camellia sasanquas in the landscape. This one next to me is called Alabama Beauty, and it gets started very, very early. I love the fall in North Carolina and throughout the Southeast. We don't get much of a spring. It tends to be cold one morning and then really, really hot one day. I have a hoodie on this morning, and then it's supposed to be 70 degrees this afternoon, so I'll be in shorts by this afternoon, and that goes on for weeks and weeks in my area, typically in October and November. And that's the time when these Camellia sasanquas really get started. So I'm going to show you several varieties that I have. I planted an October Magic Ruby, 3 of those in a project at the garden center doing some landscaping over there the other day. This is October Magic Ruby. I planted 3 of these at the garden center the other day, and they're just absolutely loaded with flower buds. One of the exciting things about this variety is it's easy to keep it small. It only gets about 3 to 4 feet. This is October Magic Orchid, which has that white center and that pink around the edge. This is just a beautiful variety. I actually planted one of these at my house on the east side of my garage. So this is one I didn't think I was going to be able to show you in this video because I hadn't seen a flower on this one. I've been waiting for these to start opening. This one's called Pink Stella. It has that beautiful double flower, meaning it has extra petals in it. Traditionally, most Camellia sasanquas just have a flat flower, you know, with just a few petals in a circle. And some of these varieties, like I just showed you the Alabama Beauty, the October Magic Ruby, and this one have a beautiful double flower. So that's just a few of the Southern Living Plant Collection Camellia sasanqua varieties that I happen to have right this minute. There are a lot of varieties. They've all been bred to have really dense, full habits, dark green foliage, just tons and tons of flower buds. Every one of them that I have are just absolutely covered in buds to flower, you know, the rest of the fall here. They have interesting variegated flowers like that Orchid and Inspiration variety. They have new full double flowers like this Alabama Beauty right here next to me. A little bit on how to take care of camellias. Camellias are acid-loving plants, so they prefer low pH, works best. I have clay soils in my yard. If you're if you have clay soils, you want to mound them up a little bit so that they're drained pretty well. But other than that, there's just no maintenance. Some of the best camellias I ever see in the Southeast are on old abandoned farmhouses where nobody's really done anything to them in a very long time. So very little maintenance. Camellia sasanquas are more sun tolerant than Camellia japonicas. Camellia japonicas have larger leaves and they tend to bloom after the first of the year. They're more sun tolerant, but I still think they're best in an area that gets maybe 6 hours of full sun during the day. I have all of mine on the east side of everything. East side of my garage, east side of a fence over there. This is the east side of this wood line right here, and they work fantastic in these spaces. They just get blasted with the sun. Maybe 2 o'clock, they're going into the shade, and that seems to work perfect for them. Again, I have them elevated so that they're well drained. The time to prune Camellia sasanquas is between the early spring or late winter and about mid to late June. That's the window that you have because these flower buds are actually set during the summer. So you don't want to do any pruning on these after, I'd really like to have it done by June 15th to get the best show in the fall. You can fertilize them in the late winter with a slow release fertilizer. Something for acid loving plants would be ideal. So I'm going to throw it over to Linda Vater in Oklahoma City, and don't forget to follow her on Instagram. Her just an absolutely stunningly beautiful garden, and she's going to talk about how to use and design with camellias.
Hey Jim, thanks for your very kind introduction. If you guys aren't already following Jim on HortTube, you absolutely must. Head on over there. He is a wealth of knowledge, a great resource on everything about the care, maintenance, planting, plant needs of everything in the Southern Living plant collection, plus some. And he does it in a way that's really easy to understand. I've learned a lot. But Jim, I'll make a deal with you. If you come over here and help me plant, I'll go to your place and help you design some things, because that's what we're talking about today, is just designing with these gorgeous camellias. You showed how to use them in your garden, so now I'm going to show you how I am going to be using them in mine, and really what kind of the driving design principles that I'm taking into account when I plant them where. The other thing is, I want to make sure that I take into account how much space they have and their size. And that's another reason I would probably encourage you to check out the Southern Living Plant Collection website, because there is a whole cafeteria menu of these different kinds of camellias. There's different sizes, there's different flower forms. Some will get wider, some will stay a little bit more slender. This is probably my favorite variety. It's Camellia Early Wonder. It's absolutely beautiful. And these are going to get to be about 6 to 8 feet tall, and I've taken that into consideration for this location. It will be a beautiful backdrop to this border. The other thing is, they're going to get about 4 feet wide, and it will then pretty much fill this space. So it will be a solid backdrop, and that will also enable them to kind of protect one another. They're kind of huddling together against both the cold and any kind of drying or desiccating winds. So that's a good thing. Jim talked a little bit also about how they require really good drainage, and I, like him, am gifted with heavy clay soil. So I'm taking that into account when I plant these. I'm removing some very lackluster, to say the least, peonies that have been here for a while. When they were first planted, they did pretty well, and I don't know if they're not getting enough sun now or if our winters have been cold enough, but at any rate, they're out of here. And when people ask me, how do you have room in your small garden to plant anything new? Well, it's largely because, happily or not, there's always something in my garden that isn't performing up to snuff. It either doesn't like the temperatures, it doesn't like the climate, or basically I can find something that's a lot more beautiful for this space. And so that's what I'm doing here. I'm going to take out these peonies. They'll go live someplace else, and these beautiful early wonder camellias will take their place. So then, from a design standpoint, in addition to the glossy green foliage and how it's kind of shiny, I love the flowers on them. Now let's talk a little bit about the flowers. It's a double form in this gorgeous cerise pink. It's darker in the middle, and it gets lighter as the petals start to flush out. It looks a little bit like a bourbon rose to me, which is probably my favorite rose form. I've got it here in a climbing Gertrude Jekyll that is almost the exact same color. You can see that it's putting out just a few more blooms. It's also happily the same color as the flowers that come out on this golden Weigela. In fact, I think I've got one that's still in bloom. It's just that beautiful pink color. In the spring, this is a huge flush of pink. But again, why I really like it is because of its gold foliage. I'm as much about foliage as I am about the flowers. And this golden foliage will literally help protect, because it's got these pendulous branches, will help protect the camellia when I want it to do so, but it will also be a beautiful, colorful counterpoint. This has matte foliage, this has glossy foliage, and then it's kind of sandwiched in. I don't know if you can see it, but I've got a Fire Chief Arbor Vitae right here, and once it fleshes out in spring, it's got that beautiful chartreusey foliage. So I'll kind of have this beautiful glossy green in the middle middle of my kind of yellow sandwich. I will love the way it looks. And again, once it reaches this mature size, it will get tall. And then I will have lower growing things in the front that echo this same color palette. Normally, I have some beautiful foxglove in here that's this gorgeous pink and some other white bloomers. It should be really gorgeous. But I demand more than just spring beauty out of any plant in my garden. I want as much four-season interest as I can get, and this will definitely serve the bill because it's got this gorgeous dark green foliage that I love. And then I not only take this small area of my flower bed into consideration when planting, but the entire length of the border. So when I look from my kitchen window down this expanse, I can see color echoes of this in my oak leaf hydrangeas, in some of this orange rocket barberry, in the last few roses that are in bloom, and even in some of my mums, there's this gorgeous kind of pink color echo in both flower and in the foliage that creates a gorgeous, really sophisticated look. Gertrude Jekyll would be proud. So that's another design consideration. I take into account this specific area, but also the border as a whole. Now, again, if this color isn't for you, there are so many different colors and sizes and heights in the collection. In the October Magic collection, I also have Ruby and Dawn and Orchid. I love all of those and they're beautiful, but this one really steals my heart. Maybe, I don't know, it's just nostalgic to me. So it steals my heart. It will look beautiful here. I'm planting two in this very large hole here that I still have to complete digging. Jim, come on over. And then I've got a third that I'm gonna plant on the other side of this golden Weigela. It's gonna be absolutely beautiful. So check out the collection, check out Jim's HortTube channel because there is a wealth of information in both of those places, and bring some camellias into your life.